joining the webinar today. And joining us with our special guests today, we've got Mabel Corona from the Foursquare Church and Roger Creeden from the Church of the Nazarene that are going to join me in a discussion today on what it looks like for a church to make a decision about electronic remittance and how they go about that decision process, how they go about choosing a vendor, how they go about rolling it out to their denomination. Most of you guys, I'm sure, know stewardship technology for our electronic giving solutions, but we also have another platform that we have called the pensions platform. And this we use with a number of different denominations to manage their pensions payments. So you can see on the left-hand side there are a couple different denominations that we work with on a regular basis to manage churches and their employees' pensions payments up to their plan sponsor or to their distributor. And that platform serves about 15,000 churches, moves almost 40 million a year. And it's a big decision to make a move from, most of the time it's from paper remittance system to an electronic remittance system. And there's a lot of discussion that goes into that about how that works and how we can transition. And it's just a large thought process. And we thought it would be a big benefit to those that might be interested in making that transition or have already started considering which vendor to use, to hear from some people that have made that transition before. So I'll give you a brief overview of the platform, and then we'll get right into the discussion with Foursquare first, who's right now starting to stand up the new platform and get people moved to it. And then we'll talk with the Church of the Nazarene, who moved to the new platform, an electronic platform, about a year and a half ago. You'll kind of see the differences between the two strategies, the thought processes, and where they are now. So a brief kind of glance at what StuTech does for the pensions and benefits platform. It really allows those local churches, however many 100, 1,000 that they are, to have a portal where they can log into and electronically remit payment up to the denomination or plan sponsor, record keeper, or direct integration that we have with a Fidelity or Schwab or Lincoln or Empower or Principal, whoever's managing the 403B pension plan for the denomination. So we offer electronic signature for forms, form capture if you need to, customized reporting and data analytics, easy onboarding if you want to electronically onboard clients to the plan. That's part of the package as well. You can do one-time or recurring payroll uploads into the system. So a number of different benefits to being able to streamline the process a little bit more efficiently. So what I want to do right now is throw it over to Mabel at Foursquare. And Mabel is one of the plan representatives there at Foursquare. And I'll throw kind of the questions up on the screen so you'll kind of know what I'm asking Mabel and can follow along with it. And we'll just kind of ask her for what Foursquare Church is like in case it resonates with what your denomination structure is like. We'll ask her about her plan in case that matches kind of your plan structure. Or you can learn from the uniqueness that is Foursquare's structure. And then we'll kind of ask about how the thought process happened around choosing to kind of make this move. So let me go ahead and unmute Mabel and introduce her. Right, well, while Mabel's dialing back in, I think if we have them, I may switch over and allow Mabel some time so we don't have as much dead air here. Give me a second. Let me check in with Roger at the Nazarene headquarters there. Roger, are you and Emily there right now?
Yes, we're here, Trey. Hopefully you guys, everybody can hear us, but thanks for the opportunity to participate today.
Thank you, Roger. Well, why don't we start with you and we'll try to pull Mabel back in and we can hear you, or I can hear you. Wonderful. So thanks for making it on the call. So Roger, who we're talking to right now is Roger Creeden. Roger's with the pensions and benefits arm of the Church of the Nazarene. He's their administrative director. And we've been doing benefits with Roger and his group since 2011, and they just made the move to pensions in 2017. And Roger, why don't we kind of go through similar questions that we were going to do with Mabel. Tell us about the makeup of the Nazarene denomination and kind of maybe move into how your plan is structured and kind of the unique things about your plan.
Right, so the Church of the Nazarene, well, I should just say hello again, everybody. Yeah, this is Roger Creeden here in the, we call ourselves the Pensions and Benefits USA Department of the Church of Nazarene. And also have Emily Bartlett with me today, and she works a lot with this program as well. Anyway, the Church of Nazarene as a denomination is made up of over 5,000 churches. P&B, as we call ourselves, primarily work with the churches in the United States. And so those 5,000 churches are U.S. churches, and the benefits that we administer are in the United States. We actually have more churches outside the United States as a denomination than what we have inside the U.S. But and we also have 8 different universities that are broken up throughout the United States, and then we have over 70, close to 75 districts that are represented throughout the United States as well. And our headquarters is located here in Lenexa, Kansas, which is a suburb of Kansas City.
Thank you, Roger. Tell us a little bit about your pensions plan. I know that in dealing with a number of the different denominations that we work with, everybody seems to have kind of some unique parts of their plan. Tell us about how pastors enroll in your plan, how they participate, what they are allowed to remit to, some of those details.
Well, we have 6 different pension plans that are part of the defined benefit structure that we administer, but specifically the opportunity that we work with Stewardship Technology about is the 403B defined contribution plan. And the defined, or the 403B plan, as plan administrators, we work with Fidelity as our record keeper. Currently, if somebody wants to enroll in the plan, they can either do that online directly with Fidelity, or they typically could call Pensions and Benefits, and we would be able to set them up through a portal access that we have with Fidelity. And once they're set up, then they're ready to start making contributions to the plan. They can do that through a paper-based system, or they can do that electronically directly with Fidelity, which then feeds a electronic deferral file back to Stewardship Technology, which then communicates to the church treasurer and the fact that they need to go in and make a change to the Stewardship Technology portal. So that's basically the way that a new enrollment program works today. Previously, prior to our relationship with SD, it was all paper-based. Someone would send Pensions and Benefits a letter of agreement. We would process that directly with Fidelity. We would send them back a paper remittance form, and the church would send the remittance form along with the check directly to Fidelity, and Fidelity would then process the remittance form along with the check. But about a year and a half ago, Fidelity indicated that they were going to get out of the check crossing business. And so at that point is when we needed to make some decisions about finding a vendor that could assist us with electronic contributions.
Thank you, Roger. And tell us a little bit about that thought process. When it came to the point where you knew you had to make a change, how did you go about that internally? How did you go about choosing a vendor? Obviously, we were the vendor that you chose. You know, kind of why maybe you decided to make that choice. Can you walk us through kind of your thought process about you got to make a change? What was that change process like for you?
Right. So we knew that we had to make a change. At the time, Fidelity didn't have a solution, or they were working on a solution. So we knew that was a possibility. When we started thinking about the priorities around this change, we knew we wanted to have a vendor that could accommodate not only the electronic contribution, but we knew that there was no way that we were going to get all of our churches to switch over to electronic contribution. So finding a vendor that could also accommodate checks was important. Finding a vendor, we were hoping to find a vendor that we had a previous relationship with, which Stewardship Technology checked both of those boxes. We had been working with them on our insurance payments, and of course we were trying to have all of our participants pay their insurance premiums online, but you know, we still had several folks that wanted to send us checks, and so we knew that Stewardship Technology, or ST as we call them, could process those checks electronically through their portal. So we knew that was perhaps already an existing relationship that we could make that work. The other thing, of course, was a priority for us, is trying to find a relationship that would be cost effective, and finding somebody that we felt like we could grow with as an organization, and could support the type of program that we needed from a technology point of view. And so those are some of the thought processes that we were looking at that time.
Thank you, Roger. One of the most important things, of course, is making that decision, but equally important is how does it get implemented? How do you roll it out to all of your churches? Can you talk a little bit about your implementation strategy, your training strategy? What did you do around that? Did you roll it out to a small number of churches first and then a large number later? Can you walk us through kind of what that process looked for you guys?
Well, thankfully, we had, you know, Fidelity is a great partner in terms of implementation procedures, and so they really helped us carry the ball with the implementation process. They set aside an implementation team. Obviously, because there were going to be data files moved back and forth, it was important to them and to us also that obviously we had all of those processes in place. So, you know, I think, you know, having a set aside implementation team was very important for the process. We had weekly calls with Fidelity, P&D, and ST. And, you know, Fidelity, through their implementation team, kept track of the project due dates and the tasks that were associated with that, and who needed to do what. So that was, I think, very important for the overall success of the process, that you had a dedicated implementation team that was helping the project move along. I think once the implementation was nearing the end, one of the priorities for us was to find a small group of churches that we identify that would be good test subjects. Um, we had heard from Fidelity that of the 5,000 churches that potentially um, could participate in the 403B plan, about 1,500 were actively sending in checks. So that was really our target group from day one, is to try to get those 1,500 converted over to an electronic contribution. But of those 1,500, we identified about 5 churches to begin with that we wanted to do a test process with that. That process sounded good, and we had good intentions with that. What happened was, once we opened up the program on our website, several other churches found that out, and so it expanded our test group larger than what we really wanted it to be. And so if I had to do that over again, I would have probably told the churches that were beyond our test group that they had to wait to participate until we had fully tested out the program. As it worked out, there were a couple of glitches, which is, to be expected anytime you're going through a new program like this. And so, because our test group had expanded, we essentially had to make more corrections than what would have been needed if we would have kept the test group to a smaller group. And so that would be one of the things that we would do differently as we look back on that now.
And what about training? How did you go about getting the information about where to log in, how to set up employees, how to make contributions? How did you go about training your target group?
So we've developed videos to do that. We've sent out a number of different emails. One of the things that we've always struggled with as a denomination is to, and we've understood this, but it's even more important now to understand the church treasurer role in the process of the 403B contribution. The Nazarene Church does not have a database for church treasurers. We are aware of church treasurers through some different reporting processes that we have, but there's no way to electronically contact them on a regular basis. And so that's been a struggle for us, making sure that we were training the right people. And that one of the advantages of the ST portal is that, obviously the treasurers are putting in their contact information, and we're working through building that treasurer database. But the priority for us in terms of training was to try to contact the pastors of the 1,500 churches that we had identified. Those primarily by email, and through those email contacts, we had requested that they contact us by phone. And we've had several phone calls. We also produced a FAQ about the process, and like I said, we have produced a couple of different videos that are point-and-click videos with voiceover. We feel like those have been very well received and really guide the person through the process. ST was helpful in that they gave us a test site that we could actually produce the video based upon the test site, so that we could actually go through like someone would actually be processing their church and setting them up and setting up the payments and so forth. So we feel like the video is very accurate in that if they watch the video, they would understand exactly what would be needed. A lot of our training has just taken place with phone calls, and the pastors find out that a change is being made, and they request that the treasurer contact us, and so that has increased our phone volume. So we've allotted for additional phone contacts for our phone representatives for this process. Fidelity has also, when a church sends in a check, they return a what they call a buck slip with information that this process is ending, and they're requesting to contact P&B for additional information about the new portal. So I guess the primary training opportunities for us were through phone conversations, additional resources that we've had to put into outbound phone calls, and then the additional resources that we develop through the videos.
Thank you, Roger. And then, based upon feedback from your churches and even from your internal employees there, what impact has this change had on how you do business there at the denomination and kind of the pain points that the local church was having?
Well, in terms of the pain points, it's a change, and so at least for the Nazarenes, we don't like change, and so they let us know about that, and so we've tried to work through that. At this point, we're still encouraging everybody to try the process, and not everybody, as we know, is going to convert to electronic contributions. We've had churches say, well, we have multiple signers on a distribution, and so how are you going to accommodate where at least two people need to approve a distribution? And so we've had to work through that and explain to them that they can have multiple approval levels on the ST portal. We've had obviously some churches that that they prefer not to do electronic distributions from their bank account, it's hard to believe that any church could not have at least something hitting their bank account. Typically, usually a utility or something would want to hit the bank account, but we've heard from churches who just don't allow that to happen out of their bank account. And I think on the positive side, from what we've heard, is that the majority of the so far of the 1,500 churches, we have about 462 churches that have converted, and a good portion of those, over 325, have actually set up on a recurring basis. So whereas before they were having to write a check every month, and so we heard that as a pain point. Well, that goes away under this system. Particularly, typically it's the same amount each month. They can set it up one time, set it up as recurring, and then every month on a date that they designate, they know that that's going to come out of the account and it's going to go into the pastor's account. We also have heard from the pastors that they don't have to worry about looking in their investment account and seeing whether or not their deposit has been made. The deposits are now regular. It's the money's in the account. They're earning interest on a regular basis, And so those are some of the positives that we've heard around this particular program.
Thank you, Roger and Emily. I appreciate you being on the call today and your time. There may be some time for questions at the end. If you guys could stick around, I'd appreciate it. I think I see Mabel back on from Foursquare. Give me 1 second. We'll see if we can't get Mabel back on here to join us.
I'm here, Trey. Can you hear me?
Oh, man, loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Good, good. Excellent.
Let me back up just a little bit to kind of your section here. Give us a brief. I know it wasn't quite clear. You were coming in a little bit out. How many churches are in the Foursquare denomination?
You know, I don't know the exact number of churches in the denomination at this point. I know participating in the retirement plan, we have about 1,500 churches that are participating in the plan.
Perfect. And tell us a little bit about your particular plan. I know you guys have some matching involved and some different things. Tell us about the benefits of your plan for the local pastor.
Well, it is a 403B plan, so it's employer-sponsored program, available to all our licensed ministers and their W-2 employees. What is nice about this plan for our licensed ministers is they can put in pre-tax contributions from salary, and when they get ready to take distributions, they can take it as housing allowance. That's a big benefit to our pastors, and a lot of them do take advantage of that. We accept elective deferrals, like I said earlier, pre-tax and post-tax. We prefer that they use pre-tax for that reason. And then the non-electives, which would be a match or a church discretionary. Those are the kind of contributions that are received into our lockbox versus checks or EFTs. There's no minimum annual for them to put in. I would say, let's see. Yeah, Jane and I were talking about how many churches we had enrolled in the plan. We said any place from 1,200 to 1,500 is what we were thinking. And actively making monthly contributions or bi-monthly contributions, I would say it's about 400 to 500 churches. And it just seems to, since the beginning of this year, I've just noticed a big increase in participation-based growth. So we're very happy with that. However, that's what got us thinking that we needed to convert and make this plan a little more streamlined and more effective for us for our time. And we had actually thought of building our own platform until Jane and Harlan met you at I believe it was a CBA conference.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's what got that's what got the conversation going with our people here with you. And we realized that you were exactly what we were looking for when we started communication with Stewart Tech. So it's been a good thing. We don't know what it's going to look like yet because we're just getting ready to launch our first test, correct? So we're just looking forward to the next part of this and moving forward. It would be a great benefit to we believe, to our churches. But like was said earlier, not all churches like change. So it will be a little bit of hand-holding, a lot of phone calls. We plan on doing webinars with our districts and with our churches, but I will always be available and probably be spending a lot of time hand-holding to try to get as many churches as we can registered and to use this new platform in making contributions into the retirement.
Thanks, Mabel. And talk a little bit, Mabel, what's your guys' rollout strategy for this and kind of thoughts around training? I know we heard from Roger that he kind of started small and they've done a lot of videos and different kind of training like that. What's kind of the thought process right now at Foursquare about the rollout strategy?
We're actually on the same page as Roger. We want to start small, do a lot of webinar training to our district office as well as our churches. And like I said, it's going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. But we think once, especially the bigger churches, once they get a hang of this, they're really going to be on board. The smaller churches we'll work with, obviously, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, we're just kind of excited that this is finally happening, and we think it'll be a good thing all the way around. So we are excited about it. I can't tell you what it's going to look like, or I have no idea. But it was nice hearing Roger discuss what the things that they came across, because like in most churches, bookkeepers are many of the time are volunteers, and volunteers come and go. So it's constantly training the new people that come in. You know, this is how you're going to do it, and we're here to help you. And it's hand holding, but you know, it's what we've always done. We don't see it being much more difficult than what it's been, pushing around all this paper on our end. So yeah, we see it as a big plus. So we're excited about it. We think our churches will be on board, especially the bigger churches that contribute once or twice a month. I think they're going to really like this platform. The smaller ones we'll just have to work with. And I have no idea what it's going to look like. I can anticipate, but in anticipating that, I would just say it's going to be a lot of phone conversations, walking them through the process. I will probably load up a lot of their information for them. And then as they add more people, then they will be responsible for that. So I'm just excited that I'm finally going to let go of this part of my job, so I can move on to other things.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Mabel. I appreciate that and your time and getting back on with the audio issues, and just, you know, just your thoughts, and Roger, your candidness on this as well. So what I'd like to do now is I'd kind of like to move into kind of the question time. So I'm going to open up the chat line to everybody. And if you guys have any questions, maybe about your own situations that you want to ask Roger or Mabel, if you could throw those into the chat box, and I'll keep an eye on the chat box here, and I'll read out the questions as they come in, and we can kind of let the experts kind of speak to those questions that come in. I'll also, we've got a video of this that we'll send out to everybody on the call, and you can see my particular contact information there. So if anything that they said resonates with your particular group, denomination, or benefits plan, and you kind of talk it over internally and think, oh man, I do have some questions that I'd like to ask or to bring up, you can always email those to me or call me directly, and we can walk through some of those things. I can honestly tell you, from working with 7 different denominations, that I've seen it all, from small rollouts to big rollouts to webinars twice a week to videos and training documents, to direct integrations with Fidelity or Lincoln or an Empower, to integrations to record keepers. So I've kind of seen a lot of different things, and a lot of denominations handle things differently, and I'd love to be able to answer any questions that you have. So if you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat box right now, and I'll read them out as they come in. And if we don't have any, or you think of some later, you can always, of course, email or give a call. So we'll give a couple seconds here to see if any questions come in. And I'm not seeing any at the moment, which means that Mabel and Roger were on point and did an awesome job. So from StuTech, on behalf of StuTech, I want to thank Roger and Mabel, and Emily, I know you're there. I know you are with Roger, so thank you as well. I appreciate everybody's time today as we were able to share a little bit about the pensions platform and stewardship, but also really to hopefully allow you to hear someone put a voice to some of the similar thoughts that you guys might be having around a similar move, or how to implement something like this, or what it might look like. I know we're all trying to do things more efficiently and effectively for our churches, especially when it comes to retirement, and always trying to do right by our pastors. So feel free to email or call if you have any additional questions. And like I said, we'll make this webinar available to everybody. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.